Welcome back, folks. We do apologise. We did have a brief stoppage of the broadcast. We were having a qualifying session, but we had technical issues involving some of the drivers because it was saying that they've gone past the checkered flag, which they haven't done so because the countdown hadn't got down to 0 or anything like that. So we are having a lobby restart alongside me, Owen Wyatt, as we've both gone through quite a few things, actually, and we've still got plenty to discuss whilst we are waiting to get underway.
Absolutely, yes. We are still both here, and we were going to start talking about the driver press conferences. We went through pretty much everyone else very quickly, going through everything, and we had just finished talking about the hot and cold list. Just want to put my thoughts on that quickly. We had Josh Wilkins on the hot part of the list, and yeah, the end of Ferrari dominance. I must be said, they might have a point on that one, because I think Jason, and we'll go on to this, he's one of the drivers that really doesn't like this track, and so I have a feeling Josh Wilkins might fancy staying on the hot list because he likes this track, and so you couldn't ask for much more, really, could you?
No, definitely not. So just looking at rivalries as well, and of course, unsurprisingly, Jamie and Buzzer, who both had a couple of incidents last week in France. We need to see how they can keep their noses clean throughout this one. So, because they both got a 5-second time penalty and half a penalty point. I'm just trying to see how many each driver has received in terms of penalty points this season, because it's 8, I believe, for a season for a race ban, if my memory serves me correctly. I'm just getting that up now.
Yeah, I hope drivers won't be getting close to that sort of limit. With a short season like this, it should be alright, but it is always worth having that penalty point system there. Just makes it stay a bit more grounded and don't have any mistake that can cause problems throughout the season. It means you keep it nice and consistent. But yeah, we'll get that up for you in a moment. And let's say, I'd mentioned it on the first stream, but I want to just mention it again with Jamie and Baz. I know that they said, oh, this is a rivalry, but as Jamie rightfully pointed out, that's his first ever penalty in 81 races. So he might not be worrying about that type of thing happening again, but it is always worth thinking in the back of your mind, once you get one, will that lead to more mistakes happening? I don't imagine so, but yeah, definitely worth thinking about.
Yeah, so hopefully those two can keep their noses clean so far this season. And Jamie's time penalty dropped in 2 places from 5th to 7th, and Buzzer finished 11th overall. I'm just trying to see where he actually ended up over the line on the road. Buzzer finished 10th, so he lost a position at the end of that one.
Yeah, still gets points for that, by the way. Of course, points go down to 12th in this league, and points for fastest lap inside and outside the top 10, which when you have slightly lower numbers, I think we've meant to have 16 drivers today, could be important. That's what they always keep saying, surviving. If you lose 4 drivers in this race, as long as you're in the top 12, you're getting points guaranteed.
Mm-hmm. I've just seen the milestone chat, actually, that Josh Wilkinson's pole position last week at France was in fact his first ever in One Hub Racing, so very huge congratulations to him. And TJW as well for scoring his 100th point in One Hub Racing as well, and Stephen achieving his first fastest lap in One Hub Racing, and Wace also achieving the same feat as what TJW did, his 100th point in this particular league. So very well done to him, and Smithy achieving his first fastest lap in One Hub Racing. So plenty of achievements all around for these drivers, which is good to see.
Yeah, it's good to see a lot of people succeed, and we saw a lot of first-time podium sitters in the earlier races as well, and so it is good to see plenty of people here are achieving new heights. By the way, if you're wondering why we're waiting, we are waiting for the 2 McLaren drivers of Jamie and Oles. I hope they aren't having lobby issues, because everyone else who was here for the first session is still here.
So a rundown on the championship. Fozzie Bear 8 points clear over Josh Wilkins, who will be going for a hat-trick of victories here in Singapore. And it's Jason, another 14 Adrenalix Leah in 4th on 33. So 2 Ferraris and 2 Alfa Romeo drivers in the top 4 positions. So Waste, the highest non-Ferrari or Alfa Romeo driver, in 5th on 32. Could he get a good result here tonight? He, last week, just looking at the results, he ended up finishing, just trying to see where he ended up finishing actually. I think he ended up way down actually by the time the race had finished. So I think he was outside the points back then because he had quite an enormous time penalty which dropped him back so much. He finished 11th actually. Waste was 11th on track. And looking to see where he ended up overall. I think he was knocked out of the points actually with that huge... Oh no, you got back up to 10th place with the penalties applied because Buzzer dropped back as well. So Waste will be going for a better result here this evening than he had some 7 days ago.
I tell you what, I still think Waste has a race victory in him this season. He's shown the potential in the likes of Bahrain with his qualifying and Hungary with leading the race as well. I do think there's a win in this for him at some point. Although, is he here tonight? No, so it's not going to quite happen for him this time. But there's definitely a victory in him this season. I'm sure of that.
Another mention of our sponsors and partners. Next Level Racing, who sponsor the league by providing an NLR Direct Drive stand, the Driver of the Season Award. 3M Sim Racing, who sponsor the league by providing a pair of their sim racing gloves to the driver, the most combined total of pole positions and fastest laps. And our partners, Festivus Team, who partner the league with the championship prizes, and ERT, who support the Going Gets Tough award.
Okay then, still waiting for one more driver. We will get started eventually, so once again apologies for the delay everybody, but there we go, everyone is here now, so we should be getting ready to have this one started up. And remember, it is a short qualifying session and a 31 lap race that we'll be going ahead to, and we are of course here at Singapore, so should be entertaining. But that is everybody here now, so hopefully, fingers crossed, we can get a qualifying session underway soon.
Yeah, and strategy is going to be key because remember, in One Hub Racing, it's mandatory to be doing 2 pit stops. So if you are starting inside the top 10, do not fear about whether others are going to be doing 1 stops because that's not possible. Every driver has to do at least 2 pit stops. In terms of what compound they do it on is entirely their choice, but they must pit at least twice in order to do that. We are at the halfway point of the season. It's a 10-round championship. We are at round 5, Singapore. Next week we go to Spa, and then it's Silverstone the week after. And on the 22nd we go to the Red Bull Ring, and then the 29th will be at Austin for the penultimate round, and the final round of the season will be at Imola for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. And what a fitting setting for a season finale.
Yeah, that'll definitely test the drivers. Cannot wait to get there. It'll be fantastic to see them all on a track which they won't have much time to get experience on, so it could be really one for the quick adapting drivers to take advantage of. But we are finally getting ready for qualifying.
Yeah, so we're into the last 30 seconds before the qualifying session does begin.
Right, so we quickly run through then the drivers' thoughts in Singapore, because we've mentioned a couple of drivers, but we might as well mention what everyone has been saying, because we have quite the split down the field about drivers who like this track and ones that maybe don't. People like Josh, as we mentioned before, he's a fan of this track. He wants to be able to achieve his season goals here as well. He's very much happy to win this race, it feels like, but we'll see how his pace will reflect on that one. And one of the big questions that were being asked tonight was that, will the drivers have to try something different to beat their rivals? And I thought that was quite an interesting question. We have answers from 5 drivers on this one. And basically, some people are going for damage limitation, as Jess would be. Others, like Josh, is just doing what they would normally do. And Alex Elliott wants us to airstrike the track, so that's what he wants to do. But yeah, people seem happy to adapt, others don't want to do as much. And I just think the more we see of what the drivers are saying, the more we see of how the session is going to adapt throughout the race, I have a feeling, like I say, I said it in the first stream, I'll say it again now if it was a missed it. This is a track you're going to get a shock winner at, I'm sure of it.
Mm-hmm. And one of those questions of which Jason was asked, what kind of race are you expecting from the prospects here? He thinks there will be some crashes and it will be a bit chaotic, but that is always to be expected in Singapore anyway. Which is true, because in the history of Formula 1, in all 12 Singapore Grand Prix, they have featured a safety car. And over here, when it comes to Sim League racing, it's no exception either. So I would expect, I would be quite surprised if we don't get a virtual safety car or a safety car at all here in Singapore.
So as we head into qualifying then, we haven't got any glitches this time on the timing screen, so all drivers will be allowed to leave the pits. And again, with all the drivers being asked questions, they were also asked what their worst sector is going to be, and that could be crucial to how qualifying goes. So I'll just quickly list off all the drivers. Josh says that he's not going to tell us what sector he doesn't like. He says it's for us to wait and see. He says he's going to wait and see, but I'm telling you, he knows where he's strong and where he's not. Feels a bit more of that sort of confidence that I'm suspecting he might have coming into this. Other drivers were more happy to tell us. For instance, Jamie doesn't like sector 3. He mentioned tire temps, and so he might be one of those drivers that are very much aware of just how difficult the tyre wear is going to be and the tyre temperatures at the early stages of the race. Could he be someone who makes an early pit stop and takes advantage? Jess says she didn't like sector 2, and then we saw that Jason and Alex didn't like any of the sectors. They thought all three of them would be tricky, but I definitely like Jamie's comment about the tyre temperatures. Surely he is someone who will be thinking about that, and you could pit on lap 1 here, frankly. The undercut is absolutely massive going from soft to mediums, and everyone seems to be qualifying on said soft, apart from Aiden. Potentially he's looking at mediums in the pits, but really this could be fascinating if anyone else is thinking about those tyre temps. As I said in the first stream, it's vital here.
So Jason on his outlap, and Dean has already opted out of qualifying here, so he's going to be starting at the back of the grid anyway. So Jason, who is going for pole position here, just look to see where he's already been on pole. He's already had, I'm just trying to think, what's he on pole in Australia? I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head. I'm not too sure if he has done.
I think he
By the way,
Australia.
Yeah. So Jason will be looking to rebound from his disappointing race at Paul Ricard and go for a really timed effort here in Singapore. Coming into turn 1, takes a wide line, gets the car turned in. Slows down for turn 3. That was a very nice wide line he took there before he got into the hairpin.
Easy to get track limits wrong there at turn sort of 5 there when you go wide, because the track limit there just about can get broken if you get right up to the wall as you head in there. Look out for that for other drivers as Jason heads through sector 1. Honestly, it all looks pretty good for him so far. He said that he thinks he's very slow here, but that looks pretty competitive if I'm honest. We'll see how the rest of the times look, but as he has a little wide moment at turn 9, he actually does look okay.
Yep, and we're just seeing him go through turn 11 through the chicane over the Anderson Bridge, and now he brakes for the hairpin. There is a little kink actually. He doesn't have a classified corner number, which in my opinion it should do, but it's not. The hairpin is turn 13, and now Jason makes his way towards turn 14, and there's a very nice exit there actually from the Ferrari driver.
Bit wide, could invalidate the lap if he's not careful on the second part of that chicane. That's probably one of the hottest points for lap to go wrong actually. You wouldn't think it until you really get there, and then you realise how much the car can understeer. Same on this chicane as well. You can raise the car if you touch the curb on the inside, but then the final corner, it's a deceptive one. You can get this part right, but actually it's straightening the car up on the exit which actually can trip you up. But Jason hasn't lost the car, he has crossed the line. It's a 1 minute 38.005. It's a decent enough banker lap, and honestly his pace doesn't look all that worrying to me, but we'll see how everyone else gets on. I see Jura coming around the final corner. He's gone P2, so straight away we've got people going slower, and there's a car off. That's what I was talking about. Jamie's done exactly what I said could happen there, losing it out of the final corner as you're straightening the car up. It is so deceptive, and Jamie, he had set the second fastest lap time as he was crashing across the line, but that's as good as it's going to get for him. At least he managed to get the lap in still.
Yeah, and storm over the line with a 1:41.7. He'll need to improve on that as we watch the other Alpine of Jess having to take evasive action round the McLaren of Jamie to put herself up to 6th place. Infamous up to 4th then in the Red Bull on a 1:39.5. And he makes his way through the hairpin. Who else is also on the flying lap? I think Josh Wilkins is going through as well. He goes to provisional pole position with 1:37.4.
Alex Lilliart nearly bins it. He's done almost the same thing that Jamie did, but he's managed to keep it alive as he crosses the line in P5. TJW is invalid on that lap, so it's not going to count. Fuzzy Bear heads through the last corner now. Let's see how he does. He's a little wide, but we'll still get to the line. He's gone P3, just behind his teammate by under a tenth of a second. So the two Ferraris absolutely running close to each other there. Alls is invalid, so I think actually that will be all of the lap times, or flying laps anyway, are done for that first set of runs.
Yeah, and I think Alls will want to think about coming back into the pits unless he's got enough ERS in store. No, he's coming back into the pits. He knows how quickly these soft tyres can fall away on this track.
Jason's going again here, look. So he wants to give this a second try on this set of tyres. Let's say I don't really recommend doing 2 laps on a set of these softs because the pace will definitely drop away when you get to the final sector and the rear start to overheat. It's so risky, this, because you can lose it particularly on the final corner. So if his lap is down before he gets to that last corner, by all means pit, because it can cost you. Look at that, 2 tenths down in the first sector already. But seems a bit more confident actually on the apexes, a 7 and 8. So maybe he thinks there is time in the middle sector. Of course, he's half a second off Josh Wilkins, so there definitely is time there. But yeah, maybe this lap's going to hinge on that middle sector because he does seem to me like he can go faster through there, and he might already be doing so.
So Jason, currently 3rd in the championship. He's looking for a pole position here. So he picked up 2 in his previous time in OHR before this season. He's only got 1 in this campaign. Can he make it a second pole position this season? Now Jason going through turn 14, and I think he was down by sector 2, wasn't he?
He was up on his last attempt, I think. It was his personal best through there, but it is still 4 tenths off the fastest middle sector, which is actually set by Jamie Met before he put it in the wall, and that sort of tells you where he's at there. Although actually our times on task are a bit all over the place. That might be something to do with our restart, unfortunately. So I'm not too sure we can use tasks anymore. So sorry, my actual stats there might be a bit inaccurate. It was a faster middle sector than his last lap though, but he also agrees with me that you don't want to go for that last corner if you're not absolutely certain you're going to go fastest, and so he went into the pit lane.
Yeah.
So yeah, apologies, task won't be usable. Perhaps it might be okay in the race, but for now it's a bit bugged thanks to the lobby glitches.
Well, Storm's lost his front wing actually as he goes through turn 16. So Storm had another tough race in Paul Ricard, and already he's been in the wars somewhere. Go to Mackie next because he's just started a flying lap. Let's see how he gets on. He was on the cold list last week, as I felt he struggled all the way through. Never really got into that many battles throughout, and then finished low down in the order at the back end of the field.
Hopefully it goes a bit better from this week. I think the pace is there for him. I do think when they put him on the cold list they were maybe being a little bit harsh, but well, maybe a little bit of harsh criticism means that you can turn around and really say, you know, put a statement out there. So hopefully Indecisive can show up and show people what he's got. We've seen it before. We know he's a good driver. Although he's put it in the wall,
he's binned it.
Me. That might be my fault.
No, it's okay. I was going to say Mackie's just binned it at the Anderson Bridge.
That's
so
what I'm saying. I was on board and I was trying to big him up and I've just put him in the wall. That's commentator's curse for you there.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate.
Yeah. So Mackie out of qualifying then. He'll start from the back of the grid no matter what happens. And all the other drivers are currently on outlaps at the moment. So Aiden will be looking to get his first lap on the board. We don't know what he's like actually because I've never seen him race before.
So that's 3 drivers gone from this session already. I'm surprised we're losing that many in qualifying. I know obviously Demon actually, he always retires in qualifying, doesn't he? So he doesn't tend to take part in that bit, but Indecisive and Jimmy Met both just having accidents on their own. What's going to happen when they start racing on overheating tyres? You know, that's why a lot of these drivers are talking about this being a race for survival, because it really is. But let's see, Baz is starting his lap. I've noticed that that tyre from Jamie Met is still sat on the track. I hope it's not solid, because they're going to want to avoid that, but that really should have despawned by now. That could be a real distraction for the drivers when they're on their laps, especially if the tyres are a little bit on the edge and you're losing the rear end out of that last corner.
So Buzzer's just started the flying lap, and I just want to read Buzzer's response actually to his rivalry with Jamie following their maladies in France last week. He's saying, in response to what must Jamie do to avoid a repeat of you two tangling, he said, "These things happen in racing, not good making contact with any driver, and you never want to make contact multiple times with the same driver. That will cause issues. That said, I believe we'll both be fighting wheel to wheel again." Well, who can blame him?
This is it. They will appear on track together again at some point. I think it's fair to trust that they won't crash again. Like I say, Jamie, he said it himself, that's his first time he's had a penalty, and it all sort of came around due to a glitch effectively in the game as well, so it was a really unfortunate situation. I don't think they expect it to happen again, and if they start shying away from fights, then of course that's not really going to help anything. So yeah, I think they're right just to keep going. It happens in racing, but keep going. It won't happen again if they both drive sensibly, and I trust that they both will. They're both highly experienced drivers, and so that's why I think they're trying to put a rivalry on that, but I don't really think there will be any bad blood between them.
I don't think so either. So Buzzer coming around the last corner. Stephen has also binned it at the Anderson Bridge. So Buzzer crosses over the line, 1 minute 39.1. That's good enough to put him in 6th place, a couple of positions behind his rival, Jamie.
And you can see that Jimmy's time is holding quite nicely, even though he hit the wall. That's why it was so crucial that he still got across the line while having that accident, because as you can see, he's still on the 2nd row. His teammate, though, might want to displace him as he comes around the final corner, but he's not going to do so. He's only going to go P11, as Josh Wilkins sets the fastest lap of the session once again, extending his advantage. He's nearly 1 second clear of the pack. That is a proper statement. Like I said, I suspected he has a little bit of confidence in there, and he didn't really, well, he sort of did say it. I'm good at this track, I'm not going to tell you where my weak sectors are, and that's probably because he might just not have any. As Aiden comes around the final corner, he's not going to go P1 either, but he will go into P9. But Josh is looking solid at the moment. Let's see if Jason's on a better lap. He isn't. He's 1.2 seconds down on the middle sector, so that's not going to improve either. And well, we're only going to have time for what, 1 or 2, probably only the 1 run after this, because it's such a long in and out lap. And so yeah, Josh is looking good here, Tom.
He is looking very, very, very good. He's over to 8 tenths clear of his nearest rival, Jason and Fuzzy Bear. And Alex Lilliard was going fast, and he did so before through sector 1 before he backed out of his lap. He's currently 7th on a 1:39.3. So he'll want to get up there with the likes of Wilkins, Jason and Fuzzy Bear. They've all set their times on the soft compound, so the top 10 have to start the race on the same compound or the same set of tyres that they've set their fastest times on. As Ols makes his way back to the pit lane. And it looks so Jess is going to be doing the same as well. Just seeing TJW making his way out onto the circuit. This may well be his last run. It's got a clear track ahead of him as well, so this should not be too much of an issue for him. Where can he end up today?
Well, let's see. Obviously no time on the board so far. I hope he's not going to come up against any traffic on his flying lap, because the reason everyone's into the pits at the moment is because they're sort of saying what I've seen, and that is that well, the time left in the session isn't really enough to risk finishing the current lap. So even though Alex was up, I guess he felt he wasn't up by enough. Aiden as well is on a flying lap, but he's going to abandon that most likely and just try and get himself to the line. Fozzie Bear though, he is on his own here, and this will have to be his last attempt. He's not going to have time to pit now anyway. So Fozzie Bear in the Ferrari, 8 tenths off pole position. This has to be his final attempt. And the same will be said for TJW. The only 2 drivers out there at the moment.
Yeah.
Oh, Fozzie's hit the wall as well.
Yeah, he clipped the wall, didn't he?
A light green damage will be enough to ruin your whole lap. Oh, I think he might well have damage as well. He's gone wide at 7 and 8 as well. This could ruin his last chance at a qualifying lap, because like I said, there's no getting out of it. So that might be it for Fozzie Bear. Unfortunately, that's not going to be an improvement. No,
it's not going to be an improvement either, so he may as well just back out this lap. He suffered horrible understeer through turns 7 and 8. You can see they're riding the curve, running wide again. Yeah, he may as well back out of it. He's not going to improve. So we'll go to TJW, who starts what looks to be his only flying lap of the session.
not much traffic to worry about, which is good news. He might even get a little slipstream of Baza, because I imagine Baza's... He's got his brain engaged there, Baza. Wanted to move out of the way and give no slipstream, and that's what he's managed to do. We'll see how TJW is on this lap. Will it be competitive? 27-1 in the first sector. It seems decent enough to put him well into the pack. So, obviously with 4 drivers no longer in the session, for his predicament, 3 drivers around him, all not in the session. So as long as he can beat, 2 or 3 of the ones in front of him that are still in the session, it's a pretty much guaranteed top 10 start. And so he hasn't got a massive target to be reaching for, but let's see if he can do it. Josh Wilkins is happy enough of his time, whereas if he can just retire and he doesn't think he'll be beaten, so that's fair enough for him. He can sit back and enjoy the rest of the session. I have a feeling that no one's going to beat him. He was just that quick. TJW though, the game says purple, it's not purple. That's about a second or 2 off what we've seen other faster times do. He'd also catch up to Alex Lilliards. Hopefully Alex doesn't block him, and he doesn't. Good stuff, good awareness to move out of the way. And now TJW will have a nice clear road to finish what will be his only lap, because his ERS is right on the knife edge anyway, so if he didn't, even if this wasn't the best lap, I don't think he'd have the ERS to finish the second one, so this is where it's going to be for him. And is it going to go up to near the top? He goes second fastest, so decent job from him there. Let's see how many people can beat him. Jason's on a flying lap, obviously big stuff for him here if he can try and get back into that front row. Other drivers are on out laps and starting their final laps. I think Jason might actually be one of the furthest along a flying lap at the minute. So shall we stick with him, or should we go to Infamous?
I've got Infamous on my screen at the moment. Just see if he's gaining any time from before in sector 2. He's 9th fastest at the moment, and he's well down. So yeah, we could go to him. We could go to Alex Lilliard, or we could go to Jason actually, because he's further around, isn't he?
Yeah.
So he's 4.5 tenths up from before. This would be good enough to put him back on the front row, but whether he'll be in front of Wilkins on pole position, that's another thing. So as he comes towards Infamous, who should stay out of the way here. So Jason coming round the last few remaining turns. There's a chicane he gets through, and then 2 left-handers take him over the line. Where is he going to end up? Nice use of the curb over the line, and Jason goes second fastest. Nearly
So
300
close.
down. Nearly 300 down. That's how close it was.
Do you know what? Good lap though in the end. I said his middle sector was where he could really gain time. It was the biggest improvement on that lap from him. And he was so close in the final corner. His ERS just ran out. And that's what cost him in the end. Still though, a strong lap. And definitely a good shot at getting maybe a good run towards turn 1 and beating Josh Wilkins that way. At the very least though, he's shown he has pace. Here comes Alex Lilliard. He's next across the line. He's gone up into the top 5. Interesting that Jimmy Met's time, even though it was the very lap he could manage it when the track rubbered in yet, it's still held in P6. Let's see if Joe can beat him now as he comes on the final corner. Look, his ERS has also been deployed, and that's cost him the beating. That cost him potentially P5. That's how much the ERS running out at the wrong moment can cost you. Still though, P7, not a bad result as it all shakes out. Jess, this should be a top 10 lap, but she's also lost her ERS. This time though, just about into P9, so good stuff from her. Aiden's out there, Ols is out there, but he's invalid, and Infamous is also invalid, so I think Aiden is the only one we're still waiting on. And as it stands, it's still Josh from Jason at the top.
Yep, Aiden was way down in sector 2 by this point. He may gain some time in the last sector, but not enough to move him off grid position. So Josh Wilkins on pole position for Alfa Romeo, just as he was so in France last week. Jason on the front row next alongside, and we've got TJW in a brilliant 3rd place for Aston Martin. And then Fozzie Bear making it 2 Ferraris in the top 4 with Alex Lilliard in 5th position, 1.5 seconds off his teammates' time.
So then, Jason, we've seen this once again where he said that he's very slow, doesn't like the track, and here he is once again finding himself at the front of the grid. Of course, he is sitting 3rd in the championship, quite a way off his teammate, but at the very least he's qualified ahead of him today. And like I say, with all the chaos and carnage that we can get in this race, I have a feeling that this could be where we see Josh and Jason really put on a performance. Well clear the rest of the field. Let's just quickly run down it actually. Josh, Jason, TJW, Fozzie, Alex, Jamie, Joe, Baza, Jess, and Infamous. They'll all start on those soft tyres, and I'd expect them all to have to pit early. Aiden and Storm and Alls, Stephen, Indecisive, and Demon all get to choose their tyre, but will they also get the soft stint out of the way in the early stages and do 2 medium runs to the end of the race? It'd be very interesting to see how they all play this.
And if there's any that started on the mediums, it'd be interesting to see how far they can take them, because if they can take them that far, it may well be, once the fuel does burn off more and more and more, they could decide to go on 2 soft stints, but I think that's probably asking for too much. So we are expecting stints of 1 soft and 2 mediums. In terms of which order, that's anyone's guess.
So it is a dry session here, so that should mean that we'll see hopefully all the strategies play out. But like I say, I don't think you'd want to be on the softs for very long, even if you wanted to put them on at the end. The tyre wear isn't actually the problem, because the tyres, they will certainly go for plenty of laps, but they'll overheat, and so even if you're on 20% old softs that should theoretically have plenty of grip, they will feel like they're completely dead, because the rears will be hitting a sort of 110 degrees range, especially in the final sector. So that's why they might not want to use them as much, and that's like I said earlier, where people who have tested a race already on this track will gain that big advantage. So let's say look out for people like Jamie, who made it very clear he was looking at the tyre temps, especially in sector 3.
So just looking at Ols' answers, he's saying what kind of race are you expecting from prospects here? He says he's not sure. He said, would you expect to have to try something different to get ahead of your rivals? So don't have any. And it's pretty much Kimi Raikkonen mode, actually, is Ols. He's just like, well, you know, yes, no. He's that kind of driver, isn't he? So he just wants to get on with the job, and who can blame him?
Well, this is it. There's no point maybe sometimes trying to say things that you don't really know much about yet. Just say, do you know what? Let's just see what happens. I'm not a prophet. Let's see what we end up with. But let's see what tyres everyone has started on then. I am surprised that no one outside the top 10 shows softs, because I know if anyone from Pinnacle's watching, yes, I'm giving away my strategy, but I'd want to be off these softs as soon as humanly possible, and then I can do my 2 medium stints. But people are going to go hards then, and mediums. So Aiden and Alls have gone hards, Storm, Steven, Indecisive, and Demon have gone for mediums. And I guess they're sort of going to go deep into the race and then go for 2 quick stints at the end. Not the easiest track to overtake on, it has to be said, and most people will end up probably having to run 11-11 wings. So that might not make it too easy, but yeah, those hard runners, they will certainly be interesting to look at. I really didn't expect any of them to start on those.
Well, to be quite honest with you, you do lose a lot of time in the pit lane, so track position is everything round this racetrack of Singapore. 31 laps, it'll be close to the hour mark, and we are perhaps expecting a safety car at some stage. As to when it may be, that's answers on the postcard. So the top 10 start on the softs, 4 drivers on mediums and 2 on the hards. Wilkins will be looking to get closer to Fozzie in the championship standings. Remember, it's the top 12 that score points, and then it's a driver from inside the top 10 that gets a point for the fast lap, and a driver from outside the top 10, providing they finish, of course, they get a point for the fast lap within that particular field, if you like, from 11th to 16th.
So, good news, by the way, we do have TAS back up, so we should be able to give you all the in-depth stuff that we need to, especially with damage. If anyone even taps a wall at some point, it'd be very important to see just what that might do. This is not going to be a normal race, I don't think, because everyone is going to be just a little bit sort of antsy, I guess, just making sure to keep it on the road. And if anyone wants to be hyper aggressive, that's where they're going to be. Now, Stephen must have had some sort of serious accident on the way to the grid, because he's going to leave them waiting for a long time, and so they're all going to be sitting there probably wondering what's going on. But yes, we are just waiting for the 1 car to come through, and he will be getting there as quick as possible. That's one way to heat your tyres up, I guess, isn't it? Absolutely bomb through the final sector at full pace.
Yeah, so heat your tyres up whilst those are getting cold. That's a brilliant strategy there from Stephen. So
Yeah.
I wonder if that will pay dividends later on in the race then. So 16 cars on the grid. We're just waiting for Stephen to slot into position, and then we'll be ready for round 5 of the Prospect here in season 19 in One Hub Racing. Josh Wilkins on pole position. Jason in the Ferrari alongside. He will lead down into the first turn and lead the field from there. It's going to be a long race, so the race will not be won at turn 1 on lap 1. So the drivers wait for the lights, and when they go out, we'll be racing here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore. It's lights out, and away we go. Jason gets the best start by the looks of things. He reacted better than Josh, but he hasn't got a good start, and Josh stays in the lead. Look at Fozzie Bear, who gets into second place in the Ferrari. So Jason's dropped out to third. GJW down a place or two. But Josh Wilkins leads going into turn 5 with the 2 Ferraris. So Fozzie Bear and Jason next behind. It's TJW and Alex Lilliart fighting over 4th place. And we've got Joe, Buzzer, Jamie, Aidan and Jess rounding out your top 10 so far.
Alex Lilliart looking all over the back of TJW. Is he going to risk a move in the early stages? Remember what he was saying about his consistency? Think about the big picture, and that's what he's doing at the moment. I was surprised to see that Jason actually ended up losing the position into turn 1. As you said, he seemed to have the best reaction. I wonder if that reaction even surprised him by how good it was, because he seemed to get off the line and then think, oh wait, I've had a really good start, and by the time he's realised, he's actually already made it a bad start. Sometimes you absolutely nail your reaction time by accident, and that might be what he's done there, and he's just caught him off guard, his own start. So he's going to have a little bit more work to do. Fozzie Bear, as we see Baza into the wall, is going to have some work to do. That might bring out a virtual safety car for Baza's front wing, and indeed it does. And he will hopefully get a chance to pit off those soft compound tyres. Now, this is a big question. Are we going to see the soft runners bail for the pits now?
Well, it depends how... Yeah, I was just going to say...
A slower pit lane, a virtual safety car will certainly help. And it also, of course, gets them off these tyres quickly as possible. So, keep your eye on the top left-hand side of the screen, because that'll let you know when that VSC is coming in. But surely, we'll see some pit stops. The top 2 are staying out. Jason as well. No one wants to get off these tyres, and that's why we've gone back to green straight away.
So Josh Wilkins leads at the end of lap 1 with Fozzie Bear in second place. Jason ahead of the Aston Martin of TJW, followed by the second Alfa Romeo of Alex Lilliart in 5th place. It's Joa, Jamie, Aidan, Jess, and Indecisive is now up into 10th place because Buzzer is entering the pits without a front wing to his car, and will most certainly need a new one fitted on. He may just go onto the hard tyres, to be honest with you, and go on a longer second stint.
Yeah, he's going to have to try something different now. At the very least, he'll be in clean air, so he should be making some good progress if anyone in the midfield starts to have any sort of fights. But yeah, he's just got to remember, it's a 2-stop race. This is one of the big reasons to have a 2-stop format. You're not out of the race yet, and there'll be plenty of attrition tonight, so as long as he's around, if you get a safety car, then he can get straight back into this race.
So Wilkins, 6/10 clear of Fozzie Bear. The DRS zones are placed 3 points on the racetrack. Actually, there's one on the pit straight, one in between turns 5 and 7, and the other being where Wilkins and Fozzie Bear are going through now in between turns 30 and 14. And Mackie's out.
He's done it, I think, at the same place as before, and that's going to be another virtual safety car. He's actually crashed just before he's got to the bridge, and that's where he binned at the early stages of qualifying. So Indecisive, well, I guess he'll be staying on the cold list then. I was hoping he'd make a statement tonight to show his intent, but unfortunately he's hit the wall twice, and that is, like I say, another shot for these guys possibly to pit. Josh Wilkins has gone off. He is completely straight lined. I think turn, what, 15, 16, just under the bridge, and he's gone off the road and bottled the race lead. Fozzie Bear leads a Ferrari 1-2. Now, as I said before, will this VSC last long enough for anyone to risk a pit stop? Josh might not be able to. No one's going to pit again, but is there any damage on Josh Wilkins, or has he just made a flat-out mistake? I think that's what... No damage, he's just made a mistake. He
just went off into the runoff area at turn 6. I thought it may have been a glitch to begin with, which is why I didn't react so ferociously as what you may have done there. But in actual fact, he was actually him making the mistake. So Josh Wilkins is down to 4th place now as Jamie comes into the pits to get a set of medium tyres on.
This could be a very smart strategy for Jamie, Matt. Even though a VSC had went away, again, in my sort of testing beforehand, you can make 2 or 3 seconds a lap on these dying softs if you're on a fresh set of mediums and you have the track to yourself. So Jamie May is making a big undercut here, and let's see how far up the field this can get him. But yeah, that is a major error for Josh Wilkins, who's obviously trying to win this championship, and he's just handed Ferrari a 1-2, which can give them all sorts of strategy options and advantages. Will he lose his head? He's got to make sure he stays in the game, because he doesn't want to try and rush his way back to the front of the field. And do you know what? That can happen sometimes. When you're at low speed, you tend to make more mistakes, because maybe you're not just fully engaged. And, well, he's learnt that the hard way, unfortunately, Josh. But long way to go in this race. It's by far the longest of the season. Plenty of time to make up for the error.
And Wilkins locked up into turn 14 there. He nearly went straight into the Tech Pro barrier over there, but was able to turn in time. Now, with Ferrari, with Fuzbear leading, you would think he's going to have first choice as to when he's going to choose to pit in. But I suppose whatever Fuzbear doesn't do, you pit in. That is Jason I'm on about.
So, these guys at the front, they're staying out. That is really surprising how long these guys are staying out. Let us say, if you're a pinnacle driver, you know exactly my strategy, but I can't believe they're not pitting some of these guys.
Oh,
We've got
someone's had a moment. Demon.
Yeah, Baz is one of them, but also Demon as well. That's front wing damage. And Jess into the pits as well, so actually it might be her front wing that's gone. Either way, it's 2 cars off the road and 2 cars into the pits now. No virtual safety cards for any of that. And Josh Wilkins has got DRS on TJW. Is he going to be able to get down the inside? There's a bit of lag.
No, he spins. Oh, that's terrible luck there for Wilkins, and he's going to drop even further down the field. So that move backfired there from Wilkins. He was just too desperate to get the job done there, and he's fallen down to 7th position.
Like I say, he lagged a little bit as he was heading up the inside, so I wonder if he was maybe a bit compromised by that. But either way, it's sent him off the road. And that is a real shame as Baz there sets the fastest lap. I expect a purple lap from Jamie perhaps on this lap. I'm going to keep my eye on his sector times because he should be theoretically pretty quick on this lap, and it should be making him a potential undercut advantage, especially with all the stuff going on with Josh and maybe TJW having to slow down a little bit. I don't know exactly how far Jamie might get up the field, but it is worth looking at regardless.
So you can see 2 Ferraris in your picture at the moment. TJW's got a clear track ahead of him at the moment in 3rd place. Alex Illiot up to 4th thanks to his teammate's error, and Joe 5th, and Aiden up to 6th place at the moment in the Williams on the hard compound. Oh, he's touched the ball at turn 18, I think it is. Yeah. So I wonder if he's suffered damage by touching the wall there. I hope he hasn't done.
I don't think he has actually. I think he's in the pits. Okay, it hasn't shown up on TAS unfortunately, but he must have damage. That's a shame, isn't it?
Well, it's not showing on the TAS that he has actually got damage, unless he's saying for certain that he has actually got some.
Unless, of course, as Joe gets by Alex Lilliard, I mean, there, I suppose, could be a strategic call. Because, let's see. No, it's changing the front wing. Changing the front wing. You can do 2 medium stints to the end of the race, though, still. So, yeah, that should still be okay, I guess. But he didn't want to be pitting that early with damage. 2 Ferraris are getting close to each other now, by the way. They appear to be in a league of their own, as it stands. Yep. Let's see how they're going to play this, because they don't want to take each other out.
No, and this is the last thing Ferrari needs at the moment. And looking at where they are in the championship standings, Ferrari, as far as I know, they are leading Alfa Romeo by 20 points. So it's pretty much a 2-horse race for the Constructors' Championship in the prospects here. Ferrari lead on 112 and Alfa Romeo on 92. So the more points that Ferrari take out of Alfa Romeo, the better, really. But we are on lap 5 only so far, and I would expect the leaders to be making pit stops now. But the only problem is one of the Ferraris is going to be staying out that extra lap.
Yeah, and if you look at the fastest lap of the race, Jamie is just making an overtake actually on Infamous. But his fastest lap there on the last lap is over a second quicker, nearly 2 seconds. In fact, over 2 seconds quicker than some of the people he's trying to undercut. Infamous hasn't got a front wing, by the way. That's why Jamie got past. And we've also got Stephen in the wall. Can he recover that one okay, or is his wheel disconnected or something? Because he seems very much non-respondent. Cars in the pits though, by the way. We've got to talk about them. We'll see what he does. That might bring out a safety car so if he doesn't get going again. But Jason, TJW, Timothy needs a new front wing. Is that from the collision perhaps earlier on that we saw as Stephen now retires? No safety car for it. We do get a virtual though. That'll help these guys that are in the pit lane at the moment, because that'll just save them a couple of seconds. And that's good news if you're Jason, because I tell you what, Jamie was gonna take the lead there. He was absolutely. He should easily be a net third place now. So that undercut has worked wonders for him.
Well, there's still another round of pit stops to come as well, so it may well be Jamie's day for tonight. At least he can just, slow down a little bit and just preserve some tyre life during this VSC. It's the third VSC of the race. Stephen retiring after spinning on the exit of turn 14.
Alls is off. He's spun. The second car will soon make a mistake on the virtual safety car in this race. Like I say, you can often make them when the tyres get maybe a bit too low on the heat and you're just not paying attention to them. And that seems to be what happened to Alls on those hards. We've still got a virtual safety car, so he hasn't lost as much as he would have before. And, well, I imagine if you're Fozzie Bear, you're praying it stays there for a couple more corners, because he might have a chance of getting to the pits here. Let's see.
So Fozzie Bear coming through the bridge then. He knows he needs to come in at the end of the stop, and it's the same for Wilkins as well, but he's another 15 seconds adrift, and Aiden receives a drive-through penalty for speeding under the virtual safety car.
So Fozzie has to pit, but he's not going to get any VSC advantages like his teammate did. Saying that, Josh Wilkins has put it in the wall.
He has.
That could be a safety car. Let's see. Fozzie Bear's praying for it, but nothing's coming up on our screens at the moment. But that is Josh Wilkins out of this race.
So Wilkins in the wall at turn 18, and his race is over. So the guy who started the race on pole position, and Stom spins out of the race as well. What an absolute embarrassment there for the Alpine driver. It's not been a good day for him. And, well, I think there's going to be quite a few candidates for the cold list tonight, because we've seen so many spins either under the virtual safety car, and Aiden's out of the race as well.
Oh, they're side by side. Sorry to interrupt, but they nearly hit each other as Jason comes out in front of Fozzie Bear and Jamie right in their toe. Safety car deployed.
Yeah, because Aiden's also crashed out in the same place as where Josh Wilkins has gone off. So 3 cars out in a space of just under 30 seconds. So we have a safety car this time now. We are down to 11 runners in this Grand Prix. And goodness knows how many runners we could end up having by the time this race is over.
Yeah, that was dramatic, that sequence of events. Drivers struggling on that VSC restart. Now, under safety car, are we going to see people making more pit stops? We've seen Demon is in. This is for his second stop, I believe. Alls out there only having made one might be regretting that decision, because I wouldn't be at all surprised if the guys who are on mediums, which is everyone who hasn't pitted twice apart from Alls, they could all pit for hards here and get to the end of the race. Well, and I think they're going to do that because it's the most sensible thing to do here. And Alls is going to have to try something different. But if I'm these drivers, obviously Ferrari might struggle with that because they're 1-2. I'd still do it anyway though, because it's going to cost you potentially at the end. But maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. Maybe they want to go for mediums at the end, and that means they'll want to set it and do the later pit stop. But again, if I was in their position, I'd be pitting now for hards.
Yeah. So Jason and Fozzie Bear 1 and 2 at the moment. Jamie in third place. He's on older mediums now, but will he decide to maybe go onto a set of hards and get that 2-stop mandatory window out of the way? We'll wait and see what he decides to do. No, he decides to stay out there. So
interesting.
Yeah, it's an interesting choice there that Jamie's made, but it's understandable.
Look for TJW, because his teammate did pit, but he's also staying out. I was wondering if the Aston Martins would have some sort of communication between each other. I would pit, right? Because especially if you want to lower down drivers, what's there to lose? Jess is doing exactly the right thing here. She's pitting, and this could be a massive move, because it could put her as the net race leader here. Oh, Infamous is in the wall, or has he just saved it? He might look at pits. He might have to look at pitting now because he's fallen so far back. He might as well. Jess just got a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Absolutely no need to do that, especially when you're on a strategy that could win you this race, or at least put you nearer to the front. That's exactly what you don't need, because that 5-second penalty is going to hang over her head now for the rest of the race. Such an unnecessary mistake under safety car. I hope it doesn't cost her, but when you're making a strategy call, which could be as potentially as good as that one is, You don't want to make that mistake. So Infamous could end up becoming the person to take the big advantage of this, having nearly put it in the wall. But let's see. Will Demon pass him? Demon will pass him, so this is actually working out best for him, who is trying to do a last to first here. And I must say, for Demon, it's not looking too bad actually at the moment.
No, and I think what I was going to say with Jess is she can come in and take that 5 seconds at her next pit stop, which she can do pretty much on the safety car conditions. Yeah, so
that's what I'm saying though. She has already made the second stop, and that's what I'm saying. She could have not got that penalty and been good to the end, but now she has to think about this. But oh well.
To be briefly honest, it was a silly penalty to get because she knew she was on the safety. Yeah, so she only has herself to blame for that one. So Jess is going to lose even more time here. She's going to lose the position to Demon, no question. And now she won't actually catch up to the field before she comes in for her pit stop. So there's some form of consolation there. So
just going to spitball here. So safety car is staying out another lap, and the guys that have pitted aren't really that close to catching up. If you are one of the leading cars, you could possibly pit and come out ahead of Demon. Is anyone going to think about doing that? Alls perhaps might not get out ahead of him, but Alls is sort of in no man's land and looking a second pit stop. Top 7 all stayed out, Alls as well, so no one else is taking their second mandatory stop at the moment.
So Jess, will she decide to come in? No, she decides to stay out there, so it could well be...
Infamous. Sorry to interrupt, Infamous has had another accident. He's lost his front wing.
That was a silly thing to do. So this is what annoys me when it comes to drivers making mistakes like this under the safety car. Like, just slow down. You're going to catch up to the pack anyway. So for Infamous to lose his front wing under safety car conditions all by himself, well, I just don't know what to say about that, to be quite honest with you.
It's a shame to see it happen, but as long as he has a chance maybe to catch the back at the back, I'm not too sure he will, because every other driver will be at the back. Either way, I mean, if he sits here in P11 all day, he'll pretty much guarantee himself the fastest lap point, I guess, but obviously only one driver outside the top 10 still in the race, and with so much fuel yet to come out of the cars, he will almost certainly set the fastest time in there, unless Josh's time from earlier on is enough, but I'm not too sure it will be. Well, let's see. He'll be on mediums at least, Infamous. I don't know. No, that'll be, so it might be yet another pit stop for him. Rest of them, though, are catching the safety car. I think he's just too far behind Infamous for the safety car to even consider staying out another lap. It's already been out long enough.
Yeah, so I think that will come to Infamous's rescue. Now, it's a maximum of 3 laps that the drivers spend behind a safety car. We're on the second lap of that safety car now, so it could well be that the safety car decides to go out and do one more lap, but that will be that. Oh no, he's coming in! So the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap, so Infamous is going to leave himself a whole load of work to do from where he is. But if we get another safety car later on, that could well save him. So Jason will back the pack up. He leads a Ferrari 1-2 at the moment. Fuzzbear has a golden opportunity to extend his lead at the top of the championship with Josh Wilkins out of this race.
Yeah, Ferrari can easily go 1-2 in the championship here. It's a huge win for both of these guys. Now, how is this restart going to go? Because you can see Jason's really holding the pack up, and it might be a bit unsightly for someone near the rear. If you are Jess and Demon, you are sitting there thinking, I can see the leaders, I can see them, and I do have to pit again. So that's big for them. Let's see how this restart goes. Jason, when's he going to go? The safety car's in the pit lane now, and it appears that Jason's got away okay, but Fozzie Bear seems to have got away better as TJW's into the pit lane, following the Aston Martin safety car in. The rest of them have all stayed out, and the Ferraris have held station up the front. TJW is taking a new front wing, so maybe he was getting caught out by the Constantina effect as everyone was getting ready to restart that race.
Yeah, it's quite a common thing to see, but as we watch the Alfa Romeo of Leo Lilliart, he's all on him now for the Alfa Romeo team to achieve something in this race with his teammate already out, but it's going to be very difficult for him to do it in 5th position, as he's got Buzzer in the AlphaTauri right behind him. He's going to go to the outside. Look, here's Buzzer. There's enough room for them to get through. Is Buzzer going to have the inside line? No, he backs out of it, and wisely so.
Yeah, good driving there not to end up having an accident. We're still only not even quite at the 1/3 distance yet in this race, so no point having any silly accidents this early on. Mind you, you could say that for the 5 drivers who are already out of the race. That's why some of these guys have come in tonight basically saying it's a day about survival. Let's not have too many risks early on, and we're seeing what that can cost you. Ferrari are sprinting well clear of Jamie, so will Joe be looking at trying to get up into the podium for Mercedes? He certainly seems fast enough for it, and he's made a good gap to Alex Lilliard as well. And I have a feeling that move will be coming soon.
I've just seen Jason run wide at turn 16 there, so he's allowed Fozzibird to close back in a little bit. And yeah, they're still holding station in 1 and 2 at the moment of Ferrari, but do keep an eye on Jamie as he wants to do another undercut on them actually, because we know how powerful the undercut is around this street circuit, and the amount of seconds you lose over the course of the lap is quite huge. As Jason posts a new fastest lap.
Yeah, so Joe really put it in the wall there in the final sector. That's why he's fallen back from Jamie and why Alex is all over the back. But those guys are certainly not quick enough to keep up with the Ferraris, I don't think. Those two will play the team game as well, but they've got to make a gap now because they'll have to do different pit stop strategies being this close. That's the only thing they might have to worry about. But as it stands, we will still most likely see either Jess or Demon at the front of this race at some point. And that's something that they'll have to think about too, because yes, the pit lane's long. I don't think these guys on hards will lose enough time to end up being behind them, and so that's something that they might not even be aware of, but something that they'll have to think about eventually, I think.
So Alex Gilliard, who is a race premium driver, is leading Buzzer behind, and Buzzer still remaining in 6th position in the AlphaTauri. Ols is in 7th behind, so 2 McLarens in the top 7 at the moment. Jess, you can see with that penalty, in case what penalty it is, it's a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane, which Jess has to take at her next pit stop or at the end of the race, whichever of the two. So Fozzibird is right behind his teammate. Look, he's getting ever closer to him, isn't
he? Yeah, and how are they going to deal with this? Because, like I said, they've got by far the quickest 2 drivers out there now, and they just need to make sure they don't get this wrong. I trust them though. I do trust that they will be sensible. Neither of them even think about the pits just yet. We've got 20 laps to go, so they don't want to go for hards. They'll be wanting mediums. As Joe, again in the last sector's lost it, but this time he's reversing out of the chicane. And I don't know if he's got any damage. We'll have a little look on TAS in a second. Let's see, any damage? He's not pitted, so I assume no. And yeah, no damage.
Yeah,
lucky boy.
he was very lucky, wasn't he? I mean, he caught the curb on the inside at turn 21 and just lost the rear end and went sideways into the wall. Luckily, it was not enough for him to be out of the race. As you can see, the Ferraris continuing to pull away from Jamie now. So when does Jamie decide to make the undercut here? Because the next best choice for him really is to get onto the hard tyre.
I think they'll try and go for medium. I think that's what they're trying to do here. And they're actually making the gap as well. If they are aware about Jess and Demon, they are actually making the gap, which is crucial, so they don't get held up. So those two, they're actually looking okay, but the hard tyres, I don't think hard tyres are going to work. Not when you've got mediums that are available. They'll all have a second set of mediums absolutely there, so that's what they'll do.
And of course, Jamie will be thinking about making that undercut soon. And he's got Alex Lilliard behind him in 4th place, up to 4th because of Joa's spin on the previous lap. And this is a crucial point in the race now for Alex to make a move here on the McLaren.
Alex, yeah, needs to get through as soon as possible because he'll be aware. He can see how far the leaders have got ahead. And so he has got to do this. Jamie nearly loses it out of the final corner, a bit like he did in qualifying when he crashed out, remember, at the end of his first proper flying lap. Oh, down the inside. Very half-hearted move there from Alex Lilliard and nearly ended in an accident. That's just going to slow both these guys down even more. I mean, the Ferraris are almost 10 seconds clear of the field. Speaking of those two, no fighting going on between them, so they're just sort of holding station for now. Alex, though, he's not going to hold station on Jimmy, mate. He's got to get by him now, and he will do. He's up into the podium positions. And let's see if he's got any pace on Ferrari there.
Whilst you've been saying that, Buzzer has been given a 3-second time penalty for track limits in the AlphaTauri. He's in 5th place at the moment, but if as it stands, he will drop back a position behind Ols. But as we've all been saying, there's still a long way to go yet in this race, and so much can still change. There's Jess in 7th position, keeping her car clean since the last pit stop, and she's looking very, very good here for a point finish. I think this will be her best result of the season as it stands for Jess.
Yeah, it might get better as well whenever it's pits, and if she can hold them off, that'll be good. Just an update on Joer, by the way, but he actually does have damage. I don't know if he picked it up later on because he hit the wall on the left-hand side earlier on, but now he's got right-hand side damage. 30% on the front right wing. Same with Alex Lilliar. He's just hit the wall. He's got 3% damage on the front left, which doesn't sound like much, those increments of damage, but trust me, they will make a difference. I mean, you can see it with Joe, where he's fallen way down the field. Alex, well, the same happened to him. 3% damage is minuscule, but it could still pose a threat because he will not know he's got that damage. It does not show up for him on the game, so we're the only ones who knows he has it. Let's see if Jamie can take advantage of it.
So Alex Lilliar in 3rd place then. He's 10 seconds off the lead at the moment, so he needs to think carefully here what he decides to do, because he's going to drop back. If he's going to replace his front wing, he's going to drop back behind Jamie, Buzzer and Ols, but he will be on the fresher tyres, so it's to try and get the undercut done. And Joe is in the pits.
Yeah, but he's got to change that win, so he must have had a separate incident then, apart from the one he already had. Fuzzy Bear's being quite clever here, by the way. He's all over the back of his teammate, but not fighting him, and since he's so close, he's able to save a lot of ERS. Jason is using it, but Fuzzy Bear's now got double the ERS, so he's on 65, and Jason's on, what, low 30s. And this means that eventually, Fozzie, if he can keep saving like this, there's 3 DRS zones, which he doesn't really need to use the ERS in anymore now, because he's that close, so he can just hold on to the back. And if you're watching him, you can see, DRS is open, ERS is not being used. That's why he's saving so much, as Joe gets a 5-second penalty for crossing the pit lane exit line. So, a couple more laps of this for Fozzie Bear, and he will have a real opportunity to pass Jason whenever he wants, or even go for an undercut, have a full tank, and go fastest lap easily, and then beat him that way. So I actually do think, even though Jason's leading the race, it's absolutely Fozzie Bear that's got the advantage.
So Jason leads Fozzie Bear. Just saw Joe get a penalty for crossing the white line, and he also got an extra penalty for track limits, so it's a double whammy there for Joe. So he is in 11th place now on fresh mediums, but he's got a huge penalty which is going to probably keep him there for the rest of the race unless others do end up having problems of their own. So we're on to lap 15 out of 31. Jason's lead is now increased to 1.5 seconds. Oh, and Fozzie Bear. Oh,
I've completely
dear.
Jinxed him. I've really jinxed him there because Fozzie's had 2 mistakes there where the tyres are just gone. The tyres are just gone. I'm surprised he was able to save that out of, turn 3, because that was absolutely, that looked like there was no grip whatsoever. Has he overheated the tyres? Or is it just a couple of unfortunate mistakes? Either way, I've just said that Fozzie has the advantage. Not anymore. Definitely Jason now. I don't know if you can check the tyre temps on TAS. I'll have a look, but it'll be interesting to see if we can find that out. I don't think we can check it out, unfortunately.
So in terms of being on the hot list so far, who would you put up there? Because I think Jason's done a magnificent job, despite the fact he didn't think he would do as well as he has done tonight.
I think he is absolutely on there for the moment. He's really impressing at the moment. Just keeping it clean. It's something that you'd have to do around this track. It's something that his rivals haven't been doing, and it's working out very well at the moment for Jason. So he would certainly be up there. And just want to look who else we've put up there, because obviously we have to look at who our drivers of the day could be. I'd be looking at possibly one of these 2 stoppers if it works out for them. Say Demon, perhaps. Or Jess, because they'll still have a chance of being ahead of like Alex Lilliard, Jimmy F1 Baza and Ols when they make their next pit stops. And then I could be in a fight for podiums, you know? And so they could be up there as well because they're playing clever strategy. So we'll see how those guys work. But certainly Jason for us is the best one at the moment.
And if I was to go for a second drive of the day, I mean, Jamie's done well tonight. In fact, Alex has just been given a time penalty. Jamie's done well in terms of effort. He got... Yeah. If it wasn't for the virtual safety car earlier on, he would have been in the lead of this race, no question.
That is a good point. I think, do you know what, without the qualifying crash as well, that's the only thing that might put him a bit down for me, is that without that qualifying crash, he would have been way higher. But then again, his pace isn't with the Ferraris anyway. So third place, which is where his net finished at the moment, is that where he was going to end up anyway? So I suppose he is driving to the maximum what he can do with the pace he has. So I suppose in that respect he is doing a really good job. Yeah, I guess we'll keep our eye on him. We'll see just what he's like at the end of the race. But I suppose he's another one we could look at.
So Jason's lead has now been extended to 4 seconds over Fosibert. Alex Liart another 9 seconds adrift in third place. Now, the lead that Jason has over Jess, who's the highest of those on the hard compound tyres, is currently 33 seconds. Now, that is surely enough for him to get out in front of the Alpine.
Yeah, that is enough now, I think. His teammate will reach that point soon. It is really the guys from Alex down who might have to worry about those guys, but even then, they don't seem to have much pace. So probably will just be able to overtake them once they come out of the pits anyway. But still, it'll just ruin their race a tad more than it would if they weren't there. Because those Ferraris, if they weren't unbeatable already, those hard runners that they'll come up against will make it impossible for them to get anywhere near, unless there's another safety car. But as it stands at the moment, only 11 cars left as well. You've got to ask the question, who's actually going to be left to have an accident? But yeah, we'll see how it all pans out. But yeah, Ferrari clear, Alex down, might have to worry about Jess Demon and TJW, who won't be pitting right until later on. He's quicker than both Demon and Jess, who are all sort of closing on each other, those three. So that's exactly what they don't want, Alex, Jimmy, Bazza, Alls, because they'll be trying to pass cars that are fighting each other.
So Alls in 6th place. He's had a good race so far. And now he's on the rear of Buzzer. And this is another thing. Jamie versus Buzzer for 4th position. Having said that, Buzzer has got that penalty hanging over him.
Yes, the penalty will annoy him, but that's only if there isn't another penalty later on for the guys around him too. 2 Aston Martins, by the way, fighting. TJW's got past Demon, and those two nearly collided down the straight. And that was so close to bringing out another safety car, but they've kept it on the road. Will TJW, oh, he's nearly lost it himself, try and get up towards Jess now, because he's going to do something different in this race at this point, having got these tires, unless he can get into the end. How are they looking? Let's see, actually, because how are his tyres? Well, 23%, and he's got to do, how many laps has he got to do? 20 laps? That'll be tight. Possible for TJW to make it, because it could be a good position if he does make it. But we'll keep our eye on him.
Yeah, so Alls still chasing Buzzer and Jamie for 4th place. Alex in 3rd right now, a distant 3rd from the top 2, and Fozzie is now 5.7 seconds off the lead, so he'll want to think about trying to perform an under. And Jamie's in the pits.
Yeah. Medium tyres now, they'll easily get to the end from here, absolutely. And his tyres were 40-odd%, and they were on 14 laps. Baz's have been on for 15 laps, and they're 52%. It's just worth looking at for TJW, that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm looking at him, because he's going to go a lot longer than that, because he is ahead, well ahead. As we lose, Joe, that could be safety car.
It really could be.
Safety car, yep. So, Infamous, if I'm you, I'm in the pits, and he is absolutely in the pits. That could be his way back into the race, Infamous. But we're now down to 10 cars, and this will give everyone else a chance to pit. And that will be bad news, sadly, now for Jamie. And this will help TJW with his tyre saving, even though he might not jump as many cars as he was going to. So it's a bit of a double-edged... It's a good and a bad for TJW, but look, he had to change the front wing at the end of that last safety car. He'll take anything he can get out of that. Jamie, the big loser, I think.
Yeah, and this is a chance also for Jess to take that 5 seconds at her next pit stop as well. She may lose positions to TJW, Demon and Jamie, but she doesn't have to worry about that penalty anymore.
Yeah, it's positions that she would have lost anyway, because she's not quite 5 seconds in front of Jamie, and so she would have fallen behind anyway. So I would agree, stick some fresh medium tyres on. Even Demon could do that, because he'll only lose 1 place as well. He might even have a chance of jumping Jess, because she'll be taking her 5 seconds. So actually Demon might stand with nothing to lose at all by pitting. So if you're on the hards, I'd pit. Ferrari are double stacking, but they can afford to do this because they are so far in front. But it must be said, Jason took a long time to exit his pit box, and Fozzie's taking a long time to get started, but even at that, he'll still get out in front of Alex Lilliard. He hasn't even made it to his pit box yet. That's just how big their lead was.
Yeah, so that was the same that happened to last time to Jason when he came into the pits. It took him quite some time to actually select first gear and actually get going again, so I don't know what's been going on with Jason's pit stops. They haven't particularly been the greatest, but it's still enough to see him in the lead at the moment.
Demon stayed out. Everyone else has pitted, but Demon has stayed out. And that's 5th place. So is he confident he can hold on to that? Because that's where he's going to have to sit with.
No, I don't think so. I mean, the only way I can see that is maybe if we get another safety car after this one, he can just get onto a set of the soft compound or something like that. But yeah, I'm actually quite surprised he decided to go on to, I'd say, out on the hards, but you know, he would have been behind all those, you know, just gone on to fresh mediums anyway. So Demon taking a gamble of some sort. I mean, there's only 10 cars left, so he is going to score points, no question. So there's only 2 drivers with penalties now, which are both track penalties. Now, this is actually bad news for Alex Elliott and Bazza because the whole field is together. This is the second safety car period of the race. Jason leads ahead of Fozzie Bear with Alex Elliott and Bazza in 3rd and 4th. Demon 5th for Aston Martin. It's the two McLarens of Jamie and Ols, followed by TJW, Jess, who has taken that penalty now onto the safety car. Infamous right at the back, just waiting to catch up, hopefully.
So again, the safety car will be allowed to start for another lap. And they will certainly not put it in this lap. I don't think there's any reason to. Will Infamous catch up? I'm not too sure. Jess and TJW are about 20 seconds up the road. They should catch it by the end of the next lap. But we'll see. Obviously, TJW has pitted for mediums that are already 4 laps old. So he's not really going to be wanting to damage them too much. Jess can afford to damage a little bit more. But yeah, I wonder how much these penalties for Alex and Bazza are going to cost them now. Because they're the only 2 now that have penalties out there, and it's all going to be bunched up pack again. If they end up in fights with people, they could get more on top of what they already have. It's just worth thinking about with those 2, because they're both in really strong positions. It would be a shame to see them lose them.
So just looking to see who is tight on. So Demon is pitting after all. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so he's going to fall to 9th position. So at least he'll be on a lap fresher mediums than the field anyway.
Yeah, I guess there's effectively nothing to lose. There's still, maybe he just didn't want to stack with his teammate, let his teammate go first and he'll do the lap after. Because he had already let his teammate through on track, hadn't he? So I guess he just didn't want to do with the stacking. Didn't really cost him anything regardless. So I guess there's no harm, no foul. Let's just hope that Infamous, for his sake, doesn't get past, because then that would look a little bit silly from him. I think he will actually get by Infamous, so Infamous that's a P9. So actually Demon's last.
Yeah, so
still, though, he'll get a chance to come back. Getting power and hard to overtake. He should be capable of doing that.
Yeah, the safety car will go in at the end of this lap. Infamous and Demon will catch up to the field, most certainly. As we watch the cars go through. And we'll see Infamous and Demon catch up. So in regards to the championship as it stands, just look and see who's got the fast lap at the moment. Well, Fozzie Bear's got that at the moment right now. So where is he in the sun? He was on 67 points coming into this race. As it stands, he will be collecting how many points for 2nd place? I think it's 17, isn't it? So 17 plus 1, 18 points for him, which moves him on to 85 points. Josh Wilkins, who is not going to be scoring, he'll remain on 59. But Jason's win would put him into 2nd place on 65. So the gap that Fozzie Bear is going to have over his teammates is going to be 20 points going into the next round at Spa in 7 days' time.
So the 2 McLarens were fighting now in the safety car. No penalties have come out of it, but has anyone hit the wall or anything? I don't know why they were swapping positions. I just want to make sure that they're all okay, because anything could have happened under the Anderson Bridge there, or under the, well, could have happened under the bridge, let's see. No, no damage for anyone. Alex, the only one with damage out there, remember, is 3% on the front wing. He's going to have to stick with that for the rest of the race. But as you say, the safety car is coming in.
And this will allow Jason once again to back up the field. The only driver he really needs to worry about is Fozzie Bear, who nearly looks like to try and overtake him now. I don't know whether Jason was just playing mind games with him at the moment. But the race is about to get back on the way. We've got 11 laps to go here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore. And Jason leads the field over the line. Now he's bolted clear. It's a nice restart there from Jason, and he's away.
Yeah, really good stuff. Absolutely, that's all over the back of Fozzie now. Is he going to risk a move? No, he's not. Going to sit behind. Bazza thought about it into turn 1 as well, but once again held station.
Jamie's in the wall. Jamie's lost his front wing by hitting the wall at turn 3. So that'll be him off into the pit lane, and what a waste as well. And his frustration's become clear because he's just received a time penalty for corner cutting, apparently. He may dispute that afterwards, but yeah, that's his race effectively ruined now, unless we do get another safety car.
Even then, he's at the back of the field now, so that's a real shame for him. And it promotes his teammate up. I assume everyone's made all their stops now, just making sure. Yeah, Alls was the only one who hadn't. It was a bit of a worry, but he has done it. Everyone has made all their stops, so yeah. Even a safety car, he'll be last regardless. Because you wouldn't really want to put softs on at the end of the race, so no one else has a real incentive to pit at any stage. So that's a shame for him, but as long as he keeps his head, he might have a chance at fastest lap, I guess, on the fresh S tyres out there, but still, we're at that stage of the race now where Ferrari will be thinking about what they do about this, because they don't have to worry about the pit stops anymore. They know they're quicker than Alex, so they're really going to have to worry about just themselves. Are they going to fight for the victory, or are they going to hold station? That's what they're going to be probably talking about. I imagine they will be in contact with each other, and we'll see what the plan is there, because that's a tricky situation to be in.
Well, Fozzie Bear's thinking more about the championship. Jason is thinking more about winning this race, because Jason hasn't been in the best of form in the last couple of races, whereas Fozzie Bear has been collecting points anywhere he can get them. And I just saw Buzzer clip the barrier at turn 13, as well as Jason posts a new fastest up of the race. So that takes that point away from Fozzie Bear.
There's no damage for Bowser when he hit the wall there. Lucky to get away with it. CJW's up in 6th place now, trying to get on the back of Alls. It appears Jess doesn't really have the pace to keep up with him, so she's sitting 7th, but she will be under pressure from Demon and from First Infamous, who's actually not doing too bad on those hard compound tyres. Jamie, new front wing and soft tyres, so it's pretty much just fastest laps now he's going to go for. Because I can't imagine those softs will make it to the end. But well, maybe he will, but he has to deal with the overheating on the tyres, so I assume it's just quality runs he'll do now.
Yeah, so if he is going to be doing quali ones, the chances are he'll take the fastest lap point away from Jason, because Jamie is inside the top 10, so that'll be another fastest lap going to Jamie. I don't know how many fastest laps he has had so far this season. Just having a look to see whether he has actually set a fastest lap. I think he set the fastest lap in Hungary, if you remember, because he went onto the soft compound on the last stint. So this is pretty much familiar territory for Jamie now, but it just feels like an eternity now that he's so far back from the field.
Yeah, it's a shame from him, but yeah, what can you do about it, really? I suppose it was a bit unlucky. He's had one fastest lap in this league before, so yeah, he'll try and go for another one tonight. I suppose he had the penalties now as well. He got that when he was coming back onto track. He recovered onto track, but cut a corner while he was doing so. It was really bad luck for him, that. I just don't know what to say about it. It's a shame. There was a lot of potential for him there tonight, and he hasn't quite made up for the mistake in qualifying in the end.
No, and you can see Buzz has actually eked out the gap actually on
passing.
Yeah, down the inside of Alex. I wonder if that was rather deliberate from Alex, because he left the door open, and whether Alex maybe wanted to get the DRS, but Alex goes wide. Did he make the corner? I think he did just, but he very, very nearly touched the barrier. So Buzzer's through into 3rd place then, ahead of the Alfa Romeo. Can Buzzer be on the podium? Now, last season's Prospect Tier race saw Buzzer come home in 5th. So he's about to go 2 positions higher than he did so when on the F1 2020 game cycle.
Yeah, Bazza only ever had 1 podium in 1 hub racing, so he's looking to make it 2 tonight. And that was committed stuff, and Alex is falling back as well, so I don't think Bazza's going to really be very much challenged, and he could well only have to worry about that 3-second gap he needs to make to Alls, but Alls is under pressure from TJW, so he'll have more to worry about than the podium as TJW.
Yeah, that's another spin. He's reset to track as well, so that'll be a penalty coming his way, I would imagine.
Yeah, but you can't do that as far as I'm aware. And now Infamous is trying to challenge Jess for 7th, which could become 6th if there is a penalty for TJW, so that fight's just got a little bit more important.
I think TJW is going to be back in the pits because he's got damage to his front wing anyway, so you can see he's struggling to get the car turned through into the corners there. And we can watch Jess think about go for a pass. TJW keeps his car out of the wall. He needs to make sure he keeps out of everyone's way here. If he knows he's going to be going into the pits, you don't want him to be holding people up with a damaged car. And you can see Infamous trying to get through there. So this is a fine battle going on now between Jess, Infamous and Demon.
Nobody quite wanted to stick a nose at the inside there. It was practically like a safety car. They were going that slow through there, but no one found the space to go for a move. As Jason, the race leader, picks up a penalty. Now, he's nearly made 3 seconds to Fozzie Bear, but it's not quite 3 seconds yet. And he has used more ERS as well than his teammate. And so is this a chance for Fozzie to take the win tonight?
Yeah, it could well be. So Fozzie Bear will be thinking about that penalty that Jason's just received now. Now he just needs to be careful not to get a penalty of his own as well. TJW exits the pits in 9th place, just ahead of Jamie.
Yeah, so that might give Jamie something to fight for. Worry about, and well, he really hopes TJW doesn't take the fast lap as well, because that really will just compound his misery tonight. But yeah, that fight for the lead, it's going to be all done on penalties now. The only sort of on-track fight we have is Jess, Infamous and Demon, and they're all going for P6, and for those guys that is a really big result for them. They could really do with getting that P6, so let's see how hard they're going to fight for it. With just where these guys are in the championship, I don't think any of them are in the top 10 at the moment. I'll just check. Jess is 18th in the championship, Demon is 16th in the championship, and Infamous is 11th. So this could be a ticket into the top 10 for any one of these three, depending on how this fight goes. So they'll wanna be making the most out of this chance.
I'm surprised Infamous didn't make a lunge down to the outside. Actually, he's holding back too much. He's not been aggressive enough with his overtakes, has he? And I think that's something he's been lacking throughout this season. He's just, when an opportunity's there, he's not going for it, and he's leaving himself falling into the clutches of cars behind. And Jamie gets another penalty for track limits.
Yeah, that's a shame for him again. We'll keep saying it, but I suppose he can make another pit. 7 to go, including the one that we're on. Farthest ERS, so I wonder if he's just waiting for these two to do something, then he can capitalise on it. But he might be the strongest one in this fight, actually. But
and Jamie's out of the race.
That is another 2 laps on the safety car. He might not overheat as much. Who's gonna pit? This is an interesting prospect, actually. Let's see.
I think if you're you wouldn't want to be in Jason's shoes right now. But is he coming in? No.
He stays out.
No, and neither does Fozzie Bear. So neither the Ferrari's going for it.
Time penalty, you might as well have some good tyres at the end, because you're going to fall down the field a little bit anyway, and at least if you have better tyres, you could use them. But no one, not one driver on the soft compound tyres.
Yeah.
And they're nice and fresh as well.
Yeah, but he may decide to come in and get another set on, so that he's pretty much on par in terms of tyre grip in comparison to the others. Do you know why I think they've stayed out another lap? Is so that it's one less lap to do on softs.
Yeah, but they can't pit now, you know, if you're Ferrari, you can't double stack. Everyone else doesn't have to worry about a double stack, of course, because there's only one of each constructor left, apart from Aston Martin, but one of the Aston Martins is in the pit, is already on the tyres anyway. That pack's going to bunch up before they all come round, so that's their conscious decision. They don't want on the softs at all. That's just that. They're going to have to stick with that decision now. And so TJW, shame about that resetting the track, if there is a penalty in that for him, because he has a chance now to make up a good few positions at the end of the race.
So we've got 6 laps to go, including the one. So Jason ahead of Fozzie Bear in first and second. It's Buzzer ahead of Alex, and Ols, who's in 5th place, could be in frame for a podium finish here. There's Jess, Infamous and Demon catching up to them now as well. Now they've got a decision to make. Does Jess decide to go for a set of softs? She could do it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's a point you've got to be where if you're lower down, you've got nothing to lose. If I'm Demon, why on earth am I not on softs right now? If I'm Infamous as well, C in question, Jess, C in question, you know, I don't know. I guess maybe in this situation, yeah, I guess don't go for it. I'm noticing, by the way, that Infamous has got his ERS on. You want to be turning that off, my friend.
Yeah.
Because you're wasting your battery. Yeah, now Demon's realised. Now Demon's realised.
Yeah, I'm turning his ERS off. It's just a really silly thing to be having on.
To be fair.
It may well be a glitch,
well,
but
no,
either way...
it could be a glitch. We've seen this happen before. I've seen this happen before where it could be a glitch. So I'm not straight away going to blame the driver on this one because it's something pretty obvious on his screen. So it could be just that he can't turn it off.
And we are just receiving a poor connection quality as well, so it could well be me needing to stop the broadcast and turn it back on again. So if you bear with us 1 moment, we'll be right back in a second.